I'm sure you guys get the gist, but if you haven't seen The Walking Dead, don't watch this video. Hello, welcome to Beyond the What. We have 3 questions today. Yes, I know, not a lot. Originally, this video was going to be very, very short, but thanks to one of the questions, or 2 of them, it's extended the episode. Now, let's start with the first one. Considering Rick and the group initiated the first blow, do you think the Saviors are in the right for everything they've done so far? Let me just get out my first thought on this, and that's, I don't think they really did initiate the first blow. Like, we don't really know much about Hilltop. Fair enough, we don't know how that started, but like, we were working with Hilltop for something they'd experienced with the Saviors, so I wouldn't argue that they made the first blow, because Rick didn't just find a group and go, oh yes, let's just kill them all. You know, Rick had 2 experiences, the first one being the fact that Daryl, Sasha and Abraham were almost all killed by those bikers because they were going to kill them anyway, so that's incident 1, and they obviously defended themselves. Incident 1 sort of set the tone. What sort of pushed us to do this is our need for supplies that Hilltop have, and their need for protection after what the Saviors had done to them. I think it's important to point out that it wasn't really like just uncalled for. If you want to separate Alexandria and Hilltop and look at it that way, you could look at it like that and say, okay, Rick initiated the sort of connection from our group and sort of brought us into the fray, which is fair enough, but like, if you think about how desperate we were at the time, like, there were things we needed to do to survive. It was morally a complex issue, but it kind of made sense at the time. Like, I wasn't disagreeing, like, I thought it was preemptive. It felt a little bit like we were poking a bear, because we'd heard a little bit about what Negan was like, but I kind of understood why Rick felt the need. Do I think the Saviors are in the right for all they've done so far? No. They haven't just retaliated. Oh, I guess if you look at it, like, technically we retaliated by attacking their group. The way we do everything is different. I don't know if you want to argue that, like, if this was a whole different group and they just retaliated by trying to attack us and killing a bunch of our people, and then we decided we needed to come to a truce. Maybe that's, in that sense, you can think, okay, I understand why they're doing it. Like, it's kind of justified. That's not how it played out. And not just that, but like, they're not just retaliating, they're imprisoning, they're torturing, they're murdering, stealing, they're like pretty much everything possible to us that's bad. Like, is there not like a clear difference there? I don't know. And I'm not saying that Rick's act was good. There's no way, like, I'm saying that. And I've already spoken that there's a conflict now as to whether I agree with what happened, because we don't know what all those people were like. Like, all those people that we did kill, for all we know, they were genuine people. And I've already spoken about that, so I won't get too much into that, but no, I don't think what Negan's doing is justified. I don't know if I'm using the right word, justified, because I don't think Rick's act was justified per se either, like just killing all those people. But I would understand it more if it was just like a retaliation and then boom. But there's more than one group, and you have to remember, the first interaction that we had with them, we had done nothing to them. Them attacking us and basically going, everything you own is Negan's. Like, they already had that motive from the start. This isn't just their way of retaliating. So no, like, I don't think it's justified. I don't think Negan per se gives that much of a crap about the people that Rick killed. It's more the disrespect in his eyes of like, do you know who I am? But anyway, I hope that answers that question. The second 2, so there's 2 questions in tandem, and they're both about Shane. So I'm going to put the question up and I'm going to talk about it because it's a long question and I'm struggling to like reword it into a shorter question. But basically it's about Shane and how I feel like Shane would fit in now. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the end of this question. I feel like the narrative looking back at it is just that Shane adjusted to the apocalypse a lot quicker than everyone, and I'd like to hear your thoughts, yada yada yada. As much as you'd say that Shane adapted quicker, like, I kind of disagree with what you're saying just a little bit, because Shane may have adapted quicker to the world outside of family and home and all these different things, i.e. the apocalypse. But where I find that he went wrong is it wasn't a quick development. So he like boosted that far forward that like it was almost detrimental. I would argue he didn't even develop in the right way. Yes, maybe you could argue that Rick is sort of becoming like to what Shane was, but then again, Shane didn't know how to deal with people and family and everything else in the apocalypse. It's like he developed in so many ways forward, decision-wise and all these different things, but then like he almost like stunted the growth in the other areas. He just didn't know how to deal with stuff properly. So I would argue that Shane was out of place. Shane may have developed faster than everyone, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like he was right back then, because I genuinely feel like he was wrong back then, otherwise he'd still be alive. If he was able to adapt to the climate of the situation, and I'm not just talking the apocalypse, I'm talking the group, the dynamics of relationships with Rick leading, all of those different things, he'd still be alive. But he didn't. He didn't adapt the way he should have, and it resulted in him dying. Let's just bypass that, right, and think to ourselves, like, if that weren't to have happened, say he had killed Rick, someone would have seen it anyway. So let's just presume that the same situation would happen. Carl would have seen Shane kill Rick. Well, I reckon genuinely that Shane would have been outcast from the group. I don't think he would have stuck around. And if he had stuck around, other people would have left. Like, I don't think he was equipped to lead us, especially the way he was spiraling. And he blames Rick for the way that it all turned out, but ultimately I just don't think he was fit for this world. And a lot of people sort of say, nah, Shane was right, Shane was right, Shane was right this. Yeah, maybe you're right, but at the same time, like, if it was meant to survive, he would have survived. He became too dangerous to those around him, and he was too reckless and too out of control, and he threatened Rick. Like he literally had lost touch with reality of how to be a part of a group, how to have a friendship and a relationship with Laurie and Rick, how to do all those things just went out the window. And it's like he went protective overdrive and he just lost it. And I there's a lot I can talk about Shane. I'm not going to go into it because I think I probably spoke a lot about it way back in the past, but I have a lot of sympathy for what Shane was going through at the time, a lot. But I just genuinely feel like he wasn't cut out for this world. But anyway, let's humor that he managed to survive and had killed Rick, or Rick and him had made up or whatever. Now let's just look and compare these situations. If Rick was still around, I feel like the pressure would have been on him a lot to do what Shane was saying. I feel like Shane would have been pushing killing the termites. I know Rick did at that point, but Shane would have been pushing all of it. The difference is though, is like, would Shane have gone back for Beth? No. Am I wrong in remembering that he was sort of saying that it's just one person and one person's life is like not important, like it's about the group? So he wouldn't have gone after Beth, so we would never have had an interaction with Dawn. In fact, we would never have even gone to the termites anyway, because we would have ended up in that, what was that place, Fort Bennett or something like that? So we probably wouldn't have seen all of those characters. And to be honest, I don't see the whole termite situation being much different. Like, they all ended up dying anyway, and Rick was sort of already in that mindset of Shane, and that's the other issue we've got, is we can't really predict where Shane would be mentally and mindset wise, because we saw him die right at the start. So like, he may have been that far along then, and you can look at his ideologies and his logic back then and go, oh, let's just place it here and go, okay, that would have worked this differently. But he would have developed so differently. Like Rick, the same way Rick developed, Shane would have developed. So like, we can never predict how he would have adjusted to the situations. If people genuinely want a longer video where I talk about Shane, I can do that, but I kind of want to keep this sort of related to the current season. So let's look at Negan. Let's not look at the governor. Let me just get this out really quickly. I think the governor would have been dead a lot sooner if it was Shane, if I'm completely honest with you. But I think he would have put the group's lives at risk to do that. Anyway, so let's look in terms of Negan. Do I think Shane would follow Negan? No, I think he'd be stubborn just like the rest of us are. Do I think it would be a lot harder to beat that look out of his eyes? Yes, actually I kind of do. Right now, Shane would probably have a logic like, let's just go and kill him. He probably would completely and utterly disagree with what Rick's doing. Because the other thing as well is like, Shane didn't really have family like Rick does. So like, would Shane have been as panicked as Rick was? I'm not convinced. I think a lot of the reason Rick reacted the way he did because he was scared of losing more of his family, right? But I can't imagine Shane being in that position. I don't know, I just can't picture it. I'm actually struggling to answer this question because it's so complicated. It's not an easy question to answer. Like, Shane could have developed in so many ways. If he had killed Rick, they could have, you know, banished him. Like, there could have been, I mean, he planned on leaving anyway. Like, would Laurie have accepted him if she had found out about what happened to Rick? Like, and I genuinely, like, hear me out, I don't think he would have successfully taken full leadership. And that's just my honest, brutal opinion. I genuinely feel like he would have been rejected by a lot of the group. Maybe not all of the group, because his logic, like I said, back then his logic was so wrong. It was so wrong, and you can disagree with me all you like, but no matter what, if you put Shane straight back in another apocalypse world with that same mindset at that same time, he would die again. It was not fitting for the moment. Whether you can argue that's a better mindset for the apocalypse, that's up to you. If you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, you really need to think about the timing of the apocalypse, and not just the outside world and how harsh it is, but the group dynamics and how everyone else is developing. If everyone was on his same wavelength at that time and had the same amount of time to get to that point, Do I think he'd have fit in? Maybe. Heck, you know what? If he had spawned right now, he probably would survive longer than he did before. And the reason I say that is because Rick is much more toward that logic than he was before, if not like further than Shane was. Like, Rick has done crazy things, but it took the exposure to get there. I don't think he would have been in as much of a battle with Rick because Laurie's dead. I think as Carl sort of grew up, it would become a lot different as well. Like, I just genuinely think that whole mindset of I'm gonna look after them, you're detriment to this group, it wouldn't be around right now, because I actually kind of feel like Shane would maybe see, other than maybe like not going after Negan, he would kind of see what Rick's been doing and agree with it. So like, I think he'd fit in with the group dynamic better now. Do I think there'd still be issues? 100%. Shane was a problematic person that was very, very hard to get along with. Do I think he would have fit nicely in any group? Genuinely, my gut tells me he wouldn't be in our group. He would have left well back and he would have ended up in another group that were much further along that maybe we would disagree with. I don't think he'd be like, do what Negan does? It's a hard question to bloody answer. And I can see what you mean by now, what is one of the biggest what ifs. How would Shane react here? How would Shane do this? Oh my god, I don't even know where to start. You know what? I need someone to send me this question, but then asking 10 different questions in a row, being like, okay, what if Shane had killed Rick, and what if Shane ended up at Terminus? What would happen? Or what if Shane had ended up here? Would Shane agree with this? What would happen? Like, questions like that. But yeah, if he had killed Rick, he never would have been on the good books of anyone else in the group. Carl was there, so we can't just make up a fantasy situation where he wasn't there. We can't just do that. If Shane kills Rick, I think he gets banished. End of that discussion. If Shane doesn't kill Rick, I see Shane getting kicked out because his mindset is just in the wrong place for the wrong time. That's how I want to look at it. And if people want more in depth, then yes, ask me more questions and I will make a full-on Shane what if, because this Beyond the Was become ridiculously huge. Thank you for the question though. It's had my brain running wild. But anyway, those are the questions for Beyond the What, guys. If you enjoyed as ever, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to for new content every single week. And of course, put it on Instagram, then you read with 2 Ds. And yeah, I don't know why I did that. I was gonna basically rattle off a whole bunch of content, but nothing's been recorded. Ha! This is all that I've got to edit. Oh gosh. Thank you for watching, guys. As ever, it's me, boy Dan, and I'll catch you in the next one.